Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome to Building a Basic Boat in From the Depths 2.4. Now a number of people have asked or strongly hinted at me to do another basic boat tutorial, and frankly I agree because the first one I did ages ago. If you haven't watched that, feel free to go do that. It's not bad, it's back ages ago, several hundred hours ago for me in From the Depths experience. But I reckon I can do better than that, and there's been a few updates since then, which changed the way the game works, and, well, it's time for another one. So here we are. So, we're here in the vehicle designer right now, with Nick's little raft, and my little floating fortress, and the first thing we're going to do is turn the UI back on, and destroy all the vehicles there, and we'll start building our basic boat. So, while I'm doing this, I would like to point out that there is never just one way to do things in From the Depths. Like, this entire thing I'm going to make right now, that is to say, this entire, like, little, what do you call it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This whole video is essentially a highly recommended guideline. It is not an absolute, you must do it this way or your boat won't work. This game does not work like that. And I have my own biases with building craft, I have my own preferences, blah blah blah. I'll try and make this whole tutorial as succinct as possible, but, like, if I fail, please don't get too mad, because this game is very complicated and it's quite difficult to simplify things too much, because then you miss things out. And I just realized that, well, to start off with, so you'll notice that I'm starting with a wooden platform. And that is because there are two broad ways to build craft in From the Depths, and that is hull first versus internal first. So, hull first is, both of these things work, by the way. I've built successful craft using both methods, but, like, it depends partially on your building style, and it depends on what you are trying to accomplish with your craft. So, if you want to keep your craft relatively small, like what I'm trying to do here, and I say relatively, this thing already I can tell is going to be a little bit bigger than I first intended. It's a good idea to build the hull first, so you have an idea of the dimensions of it. And you build the internals first when you want the craft to have a specific purpose. If you want to accomplish something specific, like fit a certain amount of power on it, or fit certain weapons on it, or something along those lines. I'm doing the hull first for this because I want to keep it a certain size, because if it gets too big it'll take too long to build, and we don't have that time, we've got places to be. And I should also mention my own bias, like I've tried to avoid that right now, but already you can see this boat is like pretty long and pretty thin. This is like, that is just a habit of mine. I tend to build them long and thin. I am a canoe maker for some reason. It's not usually a good idea. You want to strike a balance between proportions, which is usually, if I do this, you ideally want the height to be less than the width, and the width less than the length, for if you're making a boat or a ship, which we are right now. And material concerns as well. I am building with wood simply because wood is easy to build with, because you can tell exactly where beams end and stop. That's the only reason I'm using wood right now. There's other materials like, I believe that the armor guide I made, both parts of it talk about materials a bit more. And basically use wood if you want to keep things cheap, use stone if you want things to have lots of health, you use metal, just general all-purpose armor, use lightweight alloy if you want things to be light and still reasonably tough, you never use glass, you dummy, you use glass for see-through stuff, use lead for balancing to weigh things down, use heavy armor around ammunition, AI, and engines and other very important stuff you don't ever want to die. And reinforced decking is applique panels and this other stuff here. They have their own purposes. Even applique panels now, it's been buffed. It's got more health. But basically we're using wood because it's nice and simple. So, and as ever, Phil is your friend right here. I could have put that off even more, actually. So here we have essentially a box. It's always a good idea to keep in mind which is the front and back of your boat when doing this. And it helps to plan ahead always. I've just had a wee bit of a think about this craft and what I want to do with it. I never plan things out in detail, which is possibly not a good idea. Okay, so we're talking about the hull now. Horizontal beams are a good idea for the sides, simply because they allow you to control the length of your craft quite well, because they, I don't know. And frankly, just at the minimum, a craft being 4 meters tall is not that bad, unless you really want to make things tiny. And as I said in my armor guide, horizontal beams are just slightly, just a little bit better for armor on the side, so that's okay. Horizontal beams are for the bottom, because you don't want the bottom of your craft to look like that. That'd be rather silly. And also for the deck, which we are not making yet. We're making that quite a bit later. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to gently round off the front of this thing to a point. And I'm going to do that in the simplest way possible, because I don't want to... I don't really want to make this any more complicated than it needs to be. So let's do that just as a placeholder. Because generally speaking, if you want the thing to keep moving forwards, you want the front to be pointier than the back. It's pretty straightforward. It's the reason why all modern planes and aircraft and stuff, they're pointy in the front, and less pointy in the back. Pointy all round in the front. And also it helps you think of what kind of armor you need to be. That's back with the materials. So this thing currently is made of cardboard and won't be able to take any kind of punishment. That's fine, because we can armor up later if we need to. And also, putting most common blocks on your taskbar, like this, for instance, say... what have we got here? We got, say, 6 and 6. Boop, there we go. Nice and easy. Nice and straightforward. So always try and find ways to shortcut things you're going to do a lot of. Just very simple. Keep it. Treat yourself well in front of the depths. Try not to do the same thing over and over again that you could just fix easily. What am I even saying anymore? I don't know. So I've done a nice round front. I always fall into the trap of making things very, very pointy. Excessively pointy. Don't ask me why. I just kind of do that. And let's get cute on the front here. And let's do that. Is this a good idea? Probably not. But then again, I never said I was perfect. Over 1,000 hours in this game, I've still got plenty to learn. Trust me. Actually, the beaming down here could have been done better, but I just did that for simplicity's sake, because I like simple. So we're going to finish off this hull just to fill it out a little bit. Put that there just for now, and I'm going to give it a prow of sorts. And that will do for the moment. There we have the front of a boat. It's not amazing, but it's not entirely crap either. And let's just do this as well. Looks slightly less crap. Okay, so there is our very, very basic hull shape. And not even... the hull isn't really finished yet either, really, because we could possibly put a lot more armor on the sides, just extra layers of wood. But that'll do for now. So the next step is, that I usually do, is I think about the internals, once you've got this open top thing here. And you'll notice I tend to build from the bottom up. It doesn't really matter. I tend to do that simply because you look down at things a lot in front of the depths. Now, as for armor, this is where you do need to think, or not armor, ammo, this is where you need to think about what your craft is going to do defense-wise. So, I am going to make a reasonably sizable ammo compartment back here. And this is one of the reasons why a minimum width for your craft is a good idea, because what that means is that you could essentially cram more stuff into them. If it's too narrow, you can't fit things in. But this is going to have quite a nice large ammo compartment, and we're going to fill it with ammo, so like this. So resources, ammunition storage. I always use the ammo parts box because they are less fussy about how they attach to things. So you can't attach it like that. You can attach this like this. That's great. And so we're going to go down here. We're going to fill this up with ammo, and that's a lot of... there should be plenty for our needs. Arguably, what you want to do is design whatever weapons you put on a craft first, and then figure out how much ammo you need for it. I tend not to do that, because, again, I don't plan ahead as well as I should, usually. So yeah, so there's our ammo compartment. It's not brilliantly protected, but it'll do for now, and the craft is still very cheap. And you'll notice that there's a gap. There's firstly a gap between these two ammo compartments, and there are two ammo compartments. This is so that if one gets destroyed, you still have some ammo to keep firing. Because if your ship runs out of ammunition completely, it can't fight anymore. And by that point, the battle's basically over. And these, they have a layer of metal between them, and they are 3 blocks away from each other. So if this goes up, it's not going to trigger this one. It's just a handy trick. And the extra and the 2 layers of metal total between them is just a little bit of extra security and peace of mind. You'll also notice that I have put the ammunition stores at the back, like right at the back. And the reason for this is that aim point selection, as in... I'm just going to quickly put down an AI so you know what I'm talking about. And aim point selection card. So this is the default for AIs, is that they target mainframes and ammo storage. They prioritize that above anything else. And, well, at least on this setting. They can also target random blocks, but as of right now, and bear in mind, this isn't true 100% of the time, and it is subject to change. Most faction craft in the campaigns From the Depths, be that Nater or Glau or Ashes of the Empire, they target mainframes and ammo storage. They only do that, and they change targets every 30 seconds. So, what that means is that you want to stick your ammo in a place that A, is hard to hit, and B, is somewhere like well protected. It's something that'll take a while to get through for even reasonably strong weapons. And the way the AI aims in From the Depths is that it can only predict movement in straight lines, as of right now. Again, that might change by the time you watch this. I'll probably have to put out a video detailing that. So, what that means is that putting it at the back, so picture this craft moving forward, and then it turns. The AI tries to lead the target whenever possible to calculate a projectile intercepting it. So what that means is it'll turn, the rear won't be going to the predicted straight line anymore, and the shot will overshoot and miss. And that applies both for movement going backwards and forwards, and up and down. So some of the most annoying craft in the game are those who bob up and down a lot. This craft won't be able to do that because it's going to be a boat. So, and extra armor probably should make all the sides completely metal. In fact, while I'm doing that, I will do that, because why not? So yeah, this is already a decent start, and I'm just going to metal this whole thing up. Because wood, you only really need wood to keep things cheap. For all other purposes, metal is far more cost efficient because it is way tougher. You see a metal beam right here, 2,100 health, 15 armor, weight of 160, lousy buoyancy, well actually almost neutral buoyancy, material cost of 20, as opposed to a wooden beam, which is less than half the health, way less armor, is quite a bit lighter, and has decent buoyancy. So metal usually does the trick, and usually you want to put heavier stuff on the bottom. I'm not going to do that right now because we need to move on to the AI. So similar story here is the AI needs to be, well, preferably you want more than one AI and you want them scattered throughout the ship, just in case because you don't want to get your brain shot out. This craft is only going to have the one, and it is going to be quite small. So just the one AI, it's going to be like so. And also it's near the back as well, because remember, you want to keep enemy weapons focused on one point of your ship where you can concentrate your defense for the most part. That's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a pretty good one to start with. And so we're going to stick our AI mainframe here. And then, I actually made this a bit too thick. Oh well. Well, I can figure this out later. Actually, no I can't. I will figure it out right now. I will do this. Nice and narrow. Crud. There we go. Okay, how are we doing for time? We're doing lousy for time. And then, this is the point you want to turn mirror mode off, which you get by N, by the way. And you want to stick, firstly, a wireless transmitter on it. Generally, you'll always need this. And you can change what channel it's transmitting on. And if you want different weapon systems to be controlled by different AIs with different detection settings, more on that later, you will muck around with what channels are on here. So, And then next thing I always almost put on here is an intra-vehicle transmitter, because what that does is that it allows all your craft which have these things to share detection information. Again, more on that later. And then we're going to put in a card slot, and what the card slot is for is putting cards in. So the behaviors and additional routines is all about what allows you to make your AI do more things. Basically, more behaviors, more routines. I don't know why I just repeated that, but it makes your craft behave differently. It allows you to customize it more. To start off with, we're just going to put these ones in, target prioritization and aim point selection, and what this card does is that it makes the AI determine what target to... if there's multiple enemy craft, this allows the AI to calculate which one it should target. So, most of these are like pretty... well, basically ignore crew per player, propulsion and engine, because that's less important. What is important is block count, weapon count, range, speed and altitude. So, for now we're going to set all this to 0. We're going to put block count up a little bit. Just a little bit. So, like so. We're going to put weapons up just a little bit. And we're going to put range way down here, because I want this thing to prioritize things that are very close. Okay? So that's nice and simple. And then a connector or two. And then what we are going to do is put some general purpose processing cards in, because these are useful for powering detection systems. They cannot work. Your craft cannot detect anything if you do not have enough of these. They're also reasonably expensive, so you don't want to spam detection all over the place. Okay, so that's the AI. We're just going to seal it up and forget about it for the moment. We'll get back to that later. But before we do that, I should show you this. And this is possibly one of the main things people wanted me to talk about, is just all this crap. So this probably deserves a tutorial all by itself. But for now, this is a ship. So if you don't want to do this complicated, you don't have to. So for now, we want this thing to behave like a ship. We'll add naval. And this is very similar to how it used to be before this AI update. And it's just, well, it's very straightforward. I'm going to set this to enter broadside below 2,000 meters. It leaves it above 2010. Broadside minimum range, I'm going to set to something modest. The ship isn't that big. I'm going to set it to 600. And nominal broadside angle will just set to 90 for now. Okay, so now this thing can move and behave and all that stuff. Adjustments is how the thing moves. So it's got minimum altitude and all that, and if you set thrusters on it that are set to push and in the right direction, this will control altitude immediately. It also has collision avoidance, which is absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Nick Smart, for implementing this. And what this means is that you can set it to avoid all vehicles, so it'll try to dodge all vehicles, as it says, and avoid friendly vehicles. And you might wonder why there are these two options here. Ramming craft are a thing. You might want your craft to ram enemy craft. In that case, this will screw with it, so don't do that. And collision avoidance off, that is, well, if you don't care. I'm not sure why you would do that. And this is the prediction, so I'm going to set this terrain height onto the vehicle 2 seconds in the future, and use this to adjust the waypoint altitude to avoid hitting the terrain. This is fantastic, because this means that it actually tries to avoid terrain. I'm going to set this to 3, just because I can. So this, don't worry too much about this unless you want your thing to fly. And now, also pathfinding. This is a ship, we wanted to do that. Minimum altitude above land, water, blah blah blah. And collision avoidance. Allow reverse? No, we don't want it to allow reverse. Terrain hit production, 3 seconds, all that stuff. Good. Okay, maneuver. Maneuver is where things get interesting, because as of right now, you open the C menu, you'll see that this has the combat routine, turn weapons on and off, activate the attacking of salvage, which is vehicles with no AI, and build on this vehicle. What we want this to do, we want to be able to give this thing orders, so we want to do this, add ship or tank. And what this is this determines how this thing moves. And ideal pitch angle, we want that to be 0 for now, even though this thing hasn't got pitch control and doesn't need it. And idle distance, that is the distance below which the vehicle will stop moving towards the final waypoint. And you can muck around with this a little bit. This It's best to be set quite high for things that move very fast and tend to overshoot their waypoint. For now, this isn't giving us any problems, so we'll leave it as it is. Autocomplete distance. Similar thing, the distance between us and our next waypoint before we consider reach and move on to the next one. And wander distance. How far should we wander from a waypoint before we turn around to aim at it again? And this is set to 0, which means that it'll always try and get on that waypoint. So, it's not too complicated. And unless you are having specific problems you can't solve, don't worry too much about this. And then, additional. So what is in here? So this is for things for adding thruster balance, to improve steady flight and handle damage to propulsion. I haven't tested that yet. Back in the day, the thruster balance card was completely useless. Hopefully it is not useless anymore. Sailing allows your ship to control sail blocks, which are these things, by the way. So sails are just, well, it allows you to make sailing boats. And water start, so that's for aircraft, deploys balloons if the thing hits the water. FTD sailing is like this, but the old-fashioned way. And projectile avoidance, I think, is only for things that can fly, because I can't remember what the E control axis is. This doesn't seem to work on ships, I've tried it. Then PIDs are a whole different kettle of fish, we're not talking about them. And basic settings is how you name your craft. So we're just going to call this... can you not, please? Whoop, caps lock is on. Basic boat with a K. Caps lock back on. Okay, so that's AI stuff for now. More on that later, because detection has to do with that. And now we're going to talk about the engines. Now, there are multiple kinds of engines. So, broadly speaking, there's 3 ways to power your craft. So, start off with fuel engines. Well, just in resources tab, you have electric engines, which are powered by batteries. So, go here, whoop, you'll see we now have... like that. Okay, it's attached now. So now we have 320 electric engine power. And you charge batteries attached to electric engines through, well, 3 ways. You can use RTGs, so these things right here, which just passively, continuously generate electricity to charge batteries. You can charge them through fuel engines, which is this tab here, or you can charge them through electric steam via turbine generators. So this is actually can be charged through 3 different methods. You can also just directly power your craft through fuel engines, which is all based off the fuel engine generator, this thing, which, like, you can immediately put power on this by doing this, and immediately, whoop. What? Sorry, it's been literal yonk since I've put anything on here, and we're gonna stick a carburetor on top here, and why is that not working? That's not working at all. Oh yeah, no fuel. Right, so fuel engines do require fuel, just so you know. Okay, so that's 100 engine power already. And last but not least, you have steam power, which is, I find a pain in the ass. I almost never use steam. But, oh god, I can't even handle this. So, steam control. Small. Just gonna go here, and then we have a boiler, and then we have... tube, and just we have steam is like, I don't know, that's really a tutorial, all that stuff. But basically you have 3 different methods to power your craft. RTG battery power costs basically no upkeep, so it doesn't consume fuel, it doesn't consume materials, but RTGs are very expensive. You see here, the smallest one is 375 materials. That adds up a lot, particularly if you need lots of them. The largest is 5,000, so already that's almost double the cost of this craft just by having 2 RTGs on here. But no upkeep is quite handy, so these are quite handy for powering very small craft in which you can't fit larger engines in, and which don't need much power in the first place. Fuel engines are overall the more versatile of all of them, because they can range from very small to very large, range from very, very efficient to very inefficient. They consume fuel, which if you have a decently efficient refinery is almost free. But they are quite complex. It's literally been years, or at least months, since I've built a fuel engine from scratch, because I have prefabbed ones made by people who know what they're doing. I'm freely admit that. And steam engines are... You can get the most power out of these. By far, a steam engine is... You get the most power per space, I guess. So it's quite volume efficient for, like, huge amounts of power, be they electric steam or just regular steam. It does eat materials, though, which means it really is very hungry in terms of resources. So, best to be aware of that if you're going to use steam. Steam is most useful for generating huge amounts of electricity quickly, or powering very large craft which needs a huge amount of power. So you can think of as the electric engines for small craft, these for, well, a wide range of craft, but mostly medium to large, and steam for large. Again, not a hard and fast rule, but it's a simple way to see it. Now, for the purposes of this craft, we're going to keep things simple, but we're also going to try and keep things a little bit efficient. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a fuel engine, and we are going to make a simple injector engine, because those are very, very simple. And they're simple, and they're easy to make. Whoop. Is that pointing the right way? Yes, it is. So we're going to put a crankshaft on here, that is attached, a few cylinders. Whoop. Get rid of that wood block. Whoop. 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 Haven't built one of these in a very long time, pardon me if it's awkward. And we're going to stick a whole bunch of... Well, we're going to stick a radiator on the back. It's not connected. Why is it not connected? This makes me sad. I forget how these things work. Let's stick that radiator on the bottom. So radiators cool down a fuel engine at the cost of efficiency, which is absolutely fine, because this thing is probably going to have more power than we really need. So, and injectors, by the way, not a great idea. And we also need some fuel, I just realized. So, we're going to stick some fuel right here, just randomly. We will shield our AI with fuel. So, already we've got 800 engine power. That's quite a lot. We're about to have a lot more. It's not connected. You cheeky bugger. Okay. So now we've got 2,000. Now we have over 1,000. Now we have 2,000. And now we have 2,600. So ready. We have a lot. And this is an incredibly inefficient engine, by the way. So you see here, its fuel use at 100% is 74 power per unit of fuel. That is terrible. To give you an idea of what an efficient fuel engine looks like, I'm going to place this thing, which I believe is called the Blue Line. It was made... If you're ever on the Steam Workshop, look for the useful fuel engine platform. It is very, very good. So... This is 83 power per unit of fuel over here. So, rating is 96, and I suspect I've just gotten into a kettle of fish. So that's 35. So this thing is 3 times as efficient as that little thing I made right there. But that's okay, because we're in a hurry, and we want to get on with this boat. And so, you need exhaust for this kind of thing, and I'm just going to be super lazy and pipe my exhaust through the floor. Actually, I'm going to do this. I do like setting up exhausts on craft, because it's just fun for me. I just like it. So we're going to have a 3-way pipe, like so. Excuse you? Hello? That's interesting. Huh, I think I found a bug. Anyway, no worries. So, what we're going to do here, we're going to link up all the exhaust. And it's important to keep your cylinders cool, particularly with injector engines, because they run red hot. And they will overheat and blow up if you're not careful. So that's not good. We want to cool this thing as much as possible, which is why there has that huge friggin' radiator down there. And we might need to tear this engine out a bit later and put a better one in. And also, you'll notice I'm wiring the, which orientation is this thing? Ah, like that. Cool. I'm wiring the exhaust through the floor. That is because it's, I don't know, I just do that. I tend to find that if you stick them higher up on the craft, like going up through the roof, they tend to get, it tends to be a weak point on the deck, and that's not good. If you're building a ship, they tend to get shot at from above a lot more than they get shot at from below. Okay, so, that is the fuel engines. And now we're going to talk about weapons. So you'll notice that all this important stuff is here at the back, which is hard to hit, and I can concentrate my defense around it. I'm going to add some more fuel just while I'm here, because I want it to be the same height as the AI compartment. And we're also going to separate out this little bit right here, just so I can brain. And so we've got all the important stuff in the back. Well, some of the important stuff. The bit that's likely to be shot at, because I believe that... And I might be completely wrong on this, and if there are any devs watching, please correct me if I am wrong. The aim point selection card is either been modified or is planned to be modified to shoot at engines as well as AI and AI and the other thing, ammo barrels. So it's a good idea to, for those of you who stick engines in the front, like I used to, now might be the time to change that habit. So instead, what are we going to do now? We are going to put weapons in. So I'm going to separate this bit over here for reasons that you shall soon see. And we're going to measure how big this thing is, because we're going to have guns on this thing. We're going to have lots of guns. And that's there. How wide is this thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 11 meters? Yeah. Wait, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop. Whoop. Now, the reason I did that now is so that I know exactly how big this turret is. That doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Prepare for me, making absolutely sure I'm doing this on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, cool. We got 11 by 11 space. And now again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop. Okay, so now we got a wide thing to work with. This is where our guns are going to go. In fact, I am going to shove this one forward a little bit, so we have room for stuff in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop. Okay. So for those of you wondering, there's going to be superstructure in the middle right now. Okay, so weapons, and how are we doing? We're halfway through. So there's lots of different weapons from the depths. And so you have simple weapons, rams, small cannons, large cannons, autocannons, drills, and simple lasers. You have missiles, which are all this lovely stuff, complicated stuff. You have CRAM cannons, which are one of my favorites, which is big guns with explosive and various flavors of pellets packed into them. You have decorations, which are not weapons. Why are they there? Why are they there before advanced cannons, which are fantastic and one of the most powerful things in the game. And you have energy weapons. You have lasers, and you have particle cannons. Or particle accelerator cannons, I should say. So there's pros and cons to all of these things. Generally speaking, some are better than others. So lasers are amazing. Particle cannons are very good if you get the hang of them. Advanced cannons are just stupidly overpowered if you get them right. Missiles are really good. Autocannons and lasers are great. And CRAM cannons and the other simple weapons, except possibly for rams, are kind of crap. But that being said, for this craft, I'm planning to put a CRAM cannon in the front, an advanced cannon in the back, and we're going to stick some missiles in the front here, just because we can. So we'll start with the CRAM cannon, because that's nice and simple, and thankfully I have I have pre-arranged turrets. And in order for weapons to work, you do need a local weapon controller, and this is the receiver that is basically talking to the AI over here. Remember the transmitter over here? It's talking to these two turrets, and the AI is controlling them. Now, I have attached the local weapon controllers directly to the turret, simply because I find that nice and simple. It means I can just have these turrets and block them out wherever they need them. If you don't do that, you need to place the local weapon controller about a block or two below the turret. So here, here, and you'll place it here, and the local weapon controller can control this turret. I hate doing that, because it means messing with the structure of the ship. So, we're not doing that. We're sticking with them right on there, and we're going to build a CRAM cannon. and I really hope I have time enough to do this. And so we're gonna make this very, very quick, and just, yeah, we're just gonna make this as fast as possible. So CRAM cannons are quite easy, I've talked about them before on the channel, and so to start off with, it's just a basic repeating pattern. This is the most basic pattern of CRAM cannon that you can have, really. So make sure all the pointy bits are pointing to the sides and the front, and the peggy bits pointing at the connector. You do that, then you do this, doop, 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 and doop. Sorry, I've gone quiet. I want to concentrate. That doesn't seem right. What have I done here? Oh, you bloody fool, man. Doop, doop. See, I've gotten into the habit of a different kind of Tetris, so start off with it. We're just going to put some pellets on there. Then, what we are going to do is pellets here, pellets over here, and pellets over here. Excuse you. Okay, so there's a start to our CRAM cannon. Then, what we are going to do is this. Might speed this up a bit up, actually, a bit. Worries. So here is going to be our CRAM cannon. So this is a pretty hefty CRAM cannon. And first things first, we're going to set the accuracy down to the minimum. And we're going to put slight firing delay on here. And the reason for that is because CRAM hands at the start of conflict have a rotten habit of firing too quickly. So that's our CRAM cannon for now. We're going to leave that. And we're going to build our APS back here. And APS, rather similar kind of thing, except the Tetris is a little bit different. And I have no idea what kind of advanced cannon we're going to make. Jesus Christ, I scared myself. I hit the B button. So, let's go here. Okay. Perfect! So now we do this, just to remind us where the freaking end of it is. Oh no. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, mother humper. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. No good. Not big enough. Do, 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 do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Load the turret. big turret, the 3x3 turret. Now let us... Wrong bloody way. I am sorry, I am falling to pieces all of a sudden. This is meant to be a tutorial, BorderWise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, boom. People are meant to come here because they want to figure out how to do things. What are you doing? You're figuring out how to do things. Wrong time and place, mate. So, there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that the same height as the CRAM Cannon? 2. Scaffolding is a good idea when building anything, so start with the advanced cannon. Probably gonna have to speed this bit up as well, just so I don't waste your life. So I don't waste your life trying to show off what I'm doing. So, do I want to be sensible with this? I don't think so. When in doubt, go max gauge, figure it all out later. Okay, so we have that, and we're gonna do this, just so we know where things are. There. Now we're gonna stick some autoloaders on here. So, how long is that? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's 4, you dummy. There you go. And what I am going to do right now is stick some belt feeders in here. So, where you do that? I've screwed myself. I need to learn Tetris all over again. So. Right, this right here is god-awful Tetris, but it will do for the nonce. Okay, so there we have a basic APS setup. It's not finished, not by a long way, but we need to move on a little bit. Actually, no, we can't. We need to finish off these things. And so, can we finish the off in time? So, you might notice that I'm armoring these things. Internal turret armor is a very good idea. It's just an extra line of defense, just in case anything gets through the armor of your hull. So this is a grand idea, and I almost always do it. Okay, so here we have some very ugly looking weapons. So now, what we're gonna do, because we're almost out of time here, is finish off the deck and make some ammo for the advanced cannon and see how it looks and whether it even floats. . Okay, so, usually a better idea to design the ammo of an advanced cannon first. I'm in a rush, so here we go. There we go. So now we're going to be very, very simple. Explosive. Perfect! Do we have enough ammo for this? Almost. And last but not least, let's test fire this thing. So as you can see, the turrets can spin all the way around. Do they work? Yes, they do! And always remember, save your craft. So this is part 2 of the basic boat. And this boat isn't actually as basic as I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. Hurry up, prototype solder. Ah! Basic boat. So yeah, there we go. We've made a decent start. This boat is not incredibly cheap, but neither is it particularly expensive as of right now. It's not gonna knock Godly Craft's ship dead, but it is a start, and that's the most important thing. And from the depths, it is making a start on something. So, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you next time in From the Depths, Build a Basic Boat, Part 2 in 2.4. Farewell!